I had a purpose. I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play, and anything else that was outside of that lane, I didn't have time for. The love of the game, the challenge. Like I would watch Magic play, I'd watch Michael play, and I would see them do these unbelievable things, and I'd say, can I get to that level? I don't know, but let's find out. And so that curiosity to see where I could push this thing led me down that path, I think. Basketball for me was the most important thing. So everything I saw, whether it was TV shows, whether it was books I read, people I talked to, everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. And so when you have that point of view, then literally the world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
Welcome back to episode 2 of the Within the Mind series featuring Kobe Bryant. In episode 1, we unpacked Kobe's purpose using the 5 W's framework and found his why. In this episode, we will be diving into who Kobe was and who he had to become to achieve his purpose of becoming one of the greatest basketball players to ever play. We all know the stories about Kobe and his Mamba mentality, but where did that Mamba mentality actually start? And when did Kobe start to develop that mentality?
Because we were all so young. I was 6, my sister Shay was 7, my eldest Sheree was 8. And so we were just starting elementary school, basically. And so our parents just immersed us in Italian culture. So we were just surrounded by Italian kids. We were just learning the language as they were. So for us, it was full immersion. There were no American bases. There was nothing. It was just straight Italian. A lot of it had to do with isolation. Growing up over there and being the only African American kid, not being able to speak the language, I gravitated towards the game. And in that game, you find a lot of you find solace in the game.
As we discussed in episode 1, Kobe developed a deeper connection to the game due to the isolation that he was facing in Italy. The game gave Kobe the love that he desired when he felt like an outsider.
I'm not negotiating with myself. The deal was already made. The deal was made. When I set out at the beginning of the summer and said, this is the training plan I'm doing, I signed that contract with myself. I'm doing it. Throughout that process, you'll start talking to yourself like, man, I think I need to, maybe if we, nope.
In those last clips, we begin to see who Kobe was and who he was becoming, taking steps towards becoming the greatest basketball player of all time. So who was he?
So at 13 years old, I had a I had a kill list. They used to do these rankings. It was Street and Smith basketball rankings. And I was nowhere to be found because I was like 6'4", scrawny, like 160 pounds soaking wet. I was like 57 on the list.
Throughout the course of my life, it's always been that. It's always been the outsider and having to come in and prove, or to seek some sort of vengeance when I'm playing.
And so I will look at 56, 55, all the way up to number 1, who these players are, what club teams they played for. So when we go on an AAU travel circuit, I gotta hunt them down. That became my mission in high school, is to check off every other person, all those 56 other names, hunt them down and knock them down.
When we come to play the game, that's my chance to get vengeance on them for not accepting me.
Because what I had to do was work on the basics and the fundamentals, while they relied on their athleticism and their natural ability. And because I stick to the fundamentals, it just caught up to them.
So when you have that vision in sports, it's a direct competition. Like, I know how hard they're working. I know how hard we're working. I know what their strategy is. I know what ours is,
So when we played at 13, I would size you up and see what your strengths and weaknesses are. How do you approach the game? Are you silly about it? Are you goofy about it? Are you good at it just because you're bigger and stronger than everybody else, right? Or is there actually thought and skill that you put into it, right? And when I'd play to my weaknesses. I wouldn't play to my strengths. I played to my weaknesses. Because when you're playing summer basketball, there's so many games. So there's not a lot of skill work being done. So when are you going to get better, right? When you're playing in competition situations, you're only playing to your strengths. Why? Because you want to win, right? So what I would do, I was work on the things during those games that I was weak at. Left hand, pull-up jump shot, post game. Right, so I have a strategy.
Kobe was fueled by those experiences that he had in his childhood when he was growing up in Italy. He used basketball to seek vengeance on those who made him feel unseen. He wanted those who he was playing against to feel those same feelings that he felt when he felt unseen while he was growing up in Italy. But here is what separates Kobe's why from most of ours. He was aware of all of those feelings and he chose to use them as fuel. Many of us are operating blindly from a place of hate, not love. And those emotions control us and control our actions and the things that we do. Because Kobe had that level of self-awareness and he was able to separate himself from those emotions, he was able to use them strategically to push himself to the next level and not be controlled by them.
These muses are here. It's important to learn from them. If anything, it helps you remember that they are human, just like us. These great things that get accomplished can be accomplished by others and beyond. You know, building Walt Disney Company is not something that, you know, people look at and scoff at and go, oh, it can't be done anymore. Well, why not? Why not?
And the more action you take, the more you think it's possible.
Yeah, because you realize they're people just like us. They make mistakes just like us. And they kept going. You can do the same.
You know what you want. The world's giving you exactly the information you need to become better at it.
Because you know what you're looking for.
The important thing is research. You know, in the hall here in the office, I have a hall that I call Muse Hall. We have all the portraits of some of our muses here. It's important to research them. And it's like putting, you know, fuel in the fire every day. You know, there's constant inspiration when you read about them, what they were able to accomplish, how they went about accomplishing it. You're just constantly feeding that flame and learning. And the best way to do that is to learn from the people who have done it.
Talk to Magic, Michael, Bird, Keem Olajuwon, Jerry West.
When I came in the league and I wanted to take them on, right? I mean, all I heard was, you know, they called him Black Panther, they called him Black Jesus and all this stuff. I said, I want to see what this is about. And, but what happened is that he wound up becoming a big brother to me. A lot of himself when he was coming up. And he took me under his wing a lot and showed me a lot of things, taught me a lot of things, a lot of leadership things. He's still here. The information and the stuff that he's passed on to me, I'm breathing that spirit back into the game all over again, which is a lot of the reason why I try to do that now for the next generation, because he did that for me. Bill Russell did that for me, Jerry West, and all you guys, but Michael in particular.
So I went to them and started understanding the ins and outs of the game and, you know, how they approach things and their level of detail and obsessiveness. And
because Kobe's dad was a former NBA player, he had access to these greats and was able to ask them questions to use on his own journey. So no wonder he was great, right? Wrong. Yes, he had access to these great individuals who've had success in his field, but what separates Kobe from us is he was willing to learn and he was open. He knew he wanted to be amongst the greatest athletes and the greatest basketball players of all time. So he had to put his ego and his pride aside and he opened himself up to learn from these greats and have these conversations and learn from their mistakes and what it took to get to that next level. At this time, Kobe was already killing the competition. He was already one of the best basketball players in high school and was projected to go to the NBA. But he didn't let that get in his way. He put his ego and his pride aside, even though he already felt like him. He felt like Himothy. He felt like that guy. He put that to the side, and this allowed him to not get complacent and be able to receive the feedback and the information from those who've already done it. So what did Kobe learn from the greats about who he needed to become to reach that goal and to reach their level?
executional terms. It's never, come on guys, we can do better. Come on guys, we can do better. That's rah-rah stuff. The leader must give very tactical things that we can do, adjustments. Okay, the defense is doing this, that, and the other. That means we should probably do this, that, and the other. Yeah. By midway through the season, through that behavior, you start seeing them communicating the same way back to you, right? And it's like, okay, Cole, they're doing this, that, and the other to you. Maybe we should do this and that. You're like, okay, yeah, awesome, great, let's do it. Do the pre-work, you understand, okay, this team in this situation likes to run a double team from this particular angle. All right, so I'm gonna clear that side out, force the double team to come from a different angle, move myself to a space on the floor where it's gonna take a long time for the double team to come, and now I can circumvent the double team and get to a place on the floor where I can knock down a shot or get to the basket. So it's all that pre-work. As if I was watching film. But if you train yourself to watch hours and hours of film, the game's not moving that fast anymore. You can really recognize who's doing what and why. Then you can position guys in the right places in real time.
Seeing it before it happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I'm a young player coming into the league today, I would really focus on the defensive end of the floor and look at Scottie Pippen. I mean, this guy was a genius. His ball pressure, playing passing lanes, blocking shots, taking charges, and he played with a passion on the defensive end of the floor like, no, this is the most exciting part of the game to me. One of assistant coaches, his name was Tex Winter. He was responsible for teaching me the triangle offense. I go up to his room, and this is when there were no iPads or anything like that, right? So when you're on the road, you have to call down to the front desk, and they have to bring up the TV with the whole, the rolly thing and the VHS and the cassette tape. You pop it in, and I thought we were going to watch what we call touches. So watch all your touches when you have the ball, all the decisions you make, good ones and bad. Not like the TV feed. We're watching the in-arena feed, the layup line, the timeouts, rewinding, stopping, fast forward, rewinding, slow motion, every little thing, every game of that season with the 82-year-old Yoda, who is as brutally honest as you can get.
I bought into the deeper connection that exists within the game. And so when you watch our teams, or you watch any of Phil's teams, or Chicago teams, Game 6 against Utah, you watch our games, Game 7 against Boston, we were never rattled, ever, because we're always in the moment, always in the present, always extremely calm, always looking at the reality of the situation and not letting our emotions cloud our execution. And that comes from being in that meditative state that he would teach and preach from day one.
We are seeing who Kobe is becoming, but let's look deeper. Yes, we have to motivate ourselves, and the only ones that's really gonna get us there is us. But the greatest athletes and the greatest entrepreneurs and the greatest business people of all time, they all have mentors. And they all have people and coaches that they learn from.
You make game-winning shots and it's awesome. You come back the next day and miss a game-winning shot and it's misery. And then the next day comes and you're back playing again, and you understand that life has this cyclical nature. So are we just supposed to live our lives like this the whole time? Versus just staying like this and understanding that it's really just a journey of evolution every day. It's just constant improvement, constant curiosity, constantly getting better. The results don't really matter. It's the figuring out.
I shot 5 air balls on national TV in front of millions of people that cost us the series, and I'm 18, I'm fine, dude. I look at the reality of the situation. Like, for me, it's not, you kind of got to get over yourself. It's not about you, man. Like, okay, you feel embarrassed. You're not that important. Like, get over yourself.
That's where you go.
Get over yourself. You're worried about how people may perceive you, and like you're walking around and it's embarrassing because you shot 5 air balls. Get over yourself, right? And then after that, it's okay, well, why did those air balls happen? Got it. High school, year before, we played 35 games, max. Week in between, spaced out, plenty of time to rest. In the NBA, it's back to back to back to back to back to back to back. I didn't have the legs. Every shot was short. I got to get stronger. I got to train differently. The weight training program that I'm doing, I got to tailor it for an 82-game season so that when the playoffs come around, my legs are stronger and that ball gets there. So I look at it with rationale and say, okay, well, the reason why I shot air balls is because my legs aren't there. I go, well, next year they'll be there. That was it.
Certain things that you can figure out, that you can take advantage of, right? Certain weaknesses that were exposed that you need to shore up. And so it was exciting. It sucks to lose, but at the same time, there are answers there if you just look at them. What could we have done differently? It's an obsessiveness that comes along with it. You want things to be as perfect as they can be. Understanding that nothing is ever perfect. What can you do? It's in your control.
Once you know your purpose and you know who you are and who you need to become, the what comes easily. So now that Kobe knew who he needed to become, all he had to do was make a strategy and a plan to become that person. And what did he do? He woke up at 5 a.m. He was in the gym when they weren't. When they went to the club, Kobe went back to the gym. Kobe stayed in the gym and he continued to work. But what he also did was continue to learn about himself and about the game. He was a student of the game. And as you can see, he learned how to study the game from the greats.
We went in the NBA, it was like, yeah, we expected to do that. But now we're going to come back and we're going to do it again. It's that constant, like, all right, you're churning. You win one championship, I'm back in the gym the next day, working, getting ready.
Helped me actually was hurting my Achilles, because that forced me to sit there and say, okay, the day could be today that your career is over.
At any time when you were playing, yeah.
Now what do? You have these ideas about doing something with your life after basketball, but what if today is the day that's it? Now what do you do? So I had all this time sitting there with my Achilles injury and contemplating and thinking, and I said, I better get to work.
Throughout his career, in the back of his mind, Kobe knew that day was always coming. He knew basketball was not forever, but he didn't. Then he tore his Achilles, and he was stuck in bed with this injury for months, thinking about what was next. He used the same basis of his original pursuit of purpose to become the best basketball player of all time to determine his next pursuit of purpose. And what was that basis? Love.
What does love feel like?
Happiness is such a, I think I would describe love as happiness. I think I'd describe it as a beautiful journey. You know, it has its ups and downs, right? Whether it's in marriage or whether it's in the career, you know, things are never perfect. But through love, you continue to persevere and you move through them. And then through that storm, beautiful sun emerges, right? And inevitably another storm comes. And guess what? You ride that one out too. So I think love is a certain determination and persistence to go through the good times and the bad times with the someone or something that you truly love. Why did you start playing basketball? Because I loved it. What do you love to do? Oh, well, I love to tell stories. All right, let's do that. And then that's where it started.
Teach the next generation. Therefore, they can avoid some of the pitfalls and landmines that I had to go through. That's something I'm extremely passionate about. So I loved it. So it wasn't a matter of, man, I gotta put this aside. I gotta move on to something else. I was excited.
It's different because it's not about the awards. You know, you just wind up trying to create something that's going to inspire someone that hopefully, you know, through that inspiration, they can inspire somebody else. And what I've come to learn as my career went on is that's more significant than any championship. Is how do you connect with somebody that can then connect with another? Whether the awards come or not, for us, it's just to try to create things.
Now the 5 W's restarts, but with way more knowledge, way more resources, way more information to aid him on this next pursuit of purpose. And what do we start with? Getting to the root of our purpose and determining and unpacking why we are not already on that path.
Yeah, I think that's what greatness is or should be. It's not something that lives and dies. It's how can you inspire a person to then in turn inspire another person that then inspires another person. And that's how you create something that I think lasts forever. And I think that's our challenge as people is to figure out how our story can impact others and motivate them in a way to create their own greatness.
Kobe was quickly able to pinpoint his purpose of writing, which was to inspire the next generation and to use story to allow them to learn from his experience and his pitfalls and his quote-unquote failures. Now it's time to unpack why he wasn't already on that purpose. Obviously, being an NBA player takes up an immense amount of your time and your life, but throughout Kobe's career, as you guys saw, he was writing ads and he was exploring his love for writing. So after Kobe retired, why was he still not pursuing that purpose?
Started writing probably about 17 years ago. And so practicing every day. A lot of things that I wrote were ads. And so when you write an ad, nobody looks up at who wrote the ad, right? But writing their basketball was different. Putting it out there for the world to see. It's trying to create a short film. And I didn't know if I could do it, man. And it was my daughter who kind of put things in perspective for me, Gianna. She's now 13. And she was like, well, you always tell us to go for it. So she was like, you going to talk about it? You going to be about it, basically. And, and that gave me the final push.
We were just talking about it here in the office the other day. When you play the game, you hit a game-winning shot, you miss a shot, the reaction's there. You can see how people are responding to it. You can feel it.
NBA champions!
I don't see how people are affected by their basketball or, creating the punies and you put it out there. Like, I wish I could see a car ride of a family the first time their daughter hears Lily's Lemonade and what she's doing, if she's singing along to it. That's not there. So that's the challenge. That's the one thing that I miss is being able to feed off of the energy. Yeah.
The instant feedback.
Fans had trained Kobe to be receptive to that instant feedback. In a packed arena, you hear the roars of the crowd. Everyone's cheering for you. Everyone's yelling for you and rooting for you. And when you miss a shot, they're booing you. They're hating on you. They're calling you calling you slurs. It was different in his writing journey because he didn't have that instant feedback and that instant validation that the crowd gave him in his previous pursuit. And now he wasn't able to see parents and their kids on their way to the soccer game, on their way to school, listening to his work and see their reaction. And this made Kobe fearful of that judgment because he wasn't able to see that feedback. He had to unlearn this behavior to become the writer and the creator that he needed to be to live out and achieve this new purpose. And now that Kobe was operating from a place of love and not lack, and it was clear who he was and who he needed to become, now the what followed up.
The projects that say, I don't know if I can animate that. I don't know how to write that story. I don't know how to do that. Those are the things we want because through that curiosity, you'll reach a level that you didn't think was possible. And so running the studio, that's what I'm doing.
The questions don't end, you know? So I have like books and 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 books of backstory, because it's not good enough just to say the character's this way. Why are they that way? Well, the parents. Well, where do the parents come from? You know, where's the dad come from? Why are they raising a kid this way? And then, you know, what does it have to do with the economy that's around them? And then just one thing leads to the next, and then you're just writing all kinds of stuff. There are a lot of answers that I don't have, even questions that I don't have. But I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna keep going, and I'll figure these things out as we go. Just continue to build that way.
I'm ready to let you go. I want you to know now, so we both can savor every moment we have left together.
Retired Los Angeles Lakers basketball star.
The good and the bad. We have given each other all that we have. And we both know, no matter what I do next, I'll always be that kid with the rolled up socks, garbage can in the corner, 5 seconds on the clock, ball in my hands. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Mamba out.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Drop down your favorite Kobe quote, memory, or story down in the comments, and also drop down who you need to become to achieve your own purpose. Make sure you guys subscribe so you can see more of the Within the Mind series. In the next episode, we are going to be going into the mind of your favorite